Just outside the church in Chamonix. I think next time I'm here it'll be slightly busier. Mont Blanc shrouded in cloud. So the first part of the course is down this road, slight downhill, gradual running. Be very easy to go off too fast here. Heading over to the col, you can see in the distance. Down through Les Houches and then up over there and down to Saint-Gervais. But yeah, nice gentle start to wake up the legs on race day. Race may start in the road, but it's not a bad view. $4K in, first little climb of the day. Nice wide track so far all the way, easy running, nothing technical. I think it's like this all the way to Les Houches. Just over 7K in, passing Les Houches station and then heading up into the town itself, then heading up the col over there, the first big climb of the day. That first section, although it looks pretty much straight downhill, on the course profile there is a bit of undulation. Not much, maybe 80 meters or so of ascent in total. Still a massive net descent. On the climb out of Les Houches, quite flat section through Les Houches, and then once you start climbing, first part's on asphalt on a road, but it gets steep pretty quick, then turns into the track you can see behind me, but still pretty wide all the way up. This is about 8.5, 9 kilometers in now, and this is the first time it's begun to narrow. Flattening off now, I think I'm at the top of the col de Vosa. About 12.5K, something like that at this point. You can see Chamonix in the distance. I'm coming up to the first little down section in a while. I'm seeing some new mountains over the col. So once you reach the col, you don't start dropping down, you actually carry on climbing up for a fair bit more before we drop down over the ridge to Saint-Gervais. You can just about make out the hotel, I think it is at the col below me, so it gives you an idea of how much more climbing there is. So just around the top now, before the descent down into Saint-Gervais. I think I just saw a sign saying 1790 something altitude wise. Just descending down now into Saint-Gervais. First section of the descent, down a ski slope, and then moves on to the single track. Quite steep in sections as well. This is the first true bit of single track of the whole race though. The second part of the descent to Saint-Gervais has all been on track. Not too steep, easily runnable. Just arrived in Saint-Gervais. Couldn't take the exact route unfortunately, the trail was shut, so took an alternative route down into the town, and now just looking around. I think where the aid station is, somewhere around here. Just leaving Saint-Gervais, heading up to Les Contamines now. Again, another kilometre or so, maybe slightly more, paved road through a car park, and I think we're back on the trails. This section on the map, on the course profile, looks like a gradual incline, but I think it still climbs about maybe 500 meters. So it is a reasonable amount of climbing over the distance. A few kilometres outside Saint-Gervais now. Trail ran along beside the river, a bit undulating, a few little climbs, and that's come onto this single track. So sort of steady climb up, gaining some height now. You can see the trail zigzagging up. As I said earlier, it doesn't look like a big climb on the course profile, because relatively speaking to some of the others it isn't. However, it's a reasonable amount of climbing still. Lovely trail though. Fairly undulating this section actually. Nice trail though. Is runnable when it's not too steep. Imagine most people will be getting to here between about 3 and 4 hours in, so it will be dark by that time. A new day for me today. So it's picked up where I finished yesterday, and now just hiking up to the Contamine. Quite a big climb through the woods here actually. Just arrived in Le Contamine, and this is where the aid station is in this big car park. In fact, do a bit of a dog leg. Bit of a climb up right at the end there as well, but pretty undulating between Saint-Gervais and Le Contamine. A few climbs, but nothing too strenuous. Very runnable section out of Le Contamine for a couple of kilometres by the river and on the road, although it looks like they're making a new path down there, so maybe that'll be the route on race day. After a few kilometres of easy running coming out of the Contamine, past the church, which you might be able to see through the trees behind me, and then climbing up, the col begins. Pretty steep straight from the start. So as you climb up the col, there's that meadow behind me which is quite flat, undulating for a couple of kilometres, and then starts climbing again. So the average gradient of the climb will be less, but it's because you've actually got a flat and some downhills in the middle. Again, big wide track all the way up, easy underfoot. From the chalet down there, it moves on to this single track, slightly rocky path. Still very easy walking underfoot though. Looking back down the col, just about at the summit. Again, kind of steeper sections and flatter sections all the way up. Steep little climb at the end. So from the col, you skirt round where these people are walking. A little bit more climbing up round the shoulder off the hill. Nearly down off the col now into the aid station. Very easy running, bit of single track, bit of just farmer's track, and also then this sort of grassy track to finish off. Nice and gentle gradient. Then head up that valley. Just left Le Chapeau and you'll be able to see it behind me. And first section out of there is on a road. So again, fairly easy underfoot, gradual gradient. Heading up the col. The sign at the bottom said 3 hours 50 if you were walking. Put that into perspective, the sign at the bottom for the Col de Bohon was 4 hours. So they reckon this one's slightly quicker to get to the top of. Climb up the valley is again nice track, single track footpath. pretty steady gradient, and the odd flat section like I've just reached now. That's the valley climbed up. On the left hand side, not the right, that's just the road. And then past that hut, the second hut on the right, and then up those zigzags where you can see the people coming as we gain a bit of altitude. Again, easy underfoot, and gradient isn't too steep. It's not as steep as the first climb out of Leuch, for example. More relaxed gradient. Just descending down from the col, now in Italy, and heading down. I think the race route goes up to the left and behind those big pointy cliffs, but I'm not sure whether there's any tracks over there in the snow, and there's a lot of snow on that side, so when I get down I'll see if anyone's gone up around by that route. If not, I may just cut that section out because it rejoins just a bit further down in the valley, so I don't want to take any unnecessary risks today. The UTMB route goes up there, but I can't see any tracks, and I don't want to be trying to fight my way through the snow. I'm already about 35k in, 36k in today, and I just think it'd be a bit foolish to go up there, but I've got a good idea of how much climbing's involved and where the route goes, so I'm going to head down the path here, and it rejoins it in probably about 3-4k's time, because the UTMB course just loops around the back and then down the other side, and it rejoins this path. So I think it's a more sensible option for today. Just about to rejoin the course. So the route comes down from the right of the rocks, and then you come down onto this path along the valley. Nice gradual decline till Lac Comble, the aid station there. Just on the final climb now towards Courmayeur. This section you get down to Lac Comble and then turned off and start climbing. Pretty hard going. Top of the climb before the descent into Courmayeur. So the trail down to this point has been pretty undulating actually, over a good few kilometres, only lost maybe 200-300 metres at most, but looks now getting onto a ski slope. But yeah, pretty runnable. Probably the most technical section of the race though, but that may be in part due to me having to take different routes rather than the main path because of the snow, so the sections I'm running on aren't the main trail. Final part of the descent now. Slightly bigger tracks, but still from here I think about 700 metres of descending. The final part of the trail into Courmayeur seems to be pretty twisty, steep steps, roots, rocks. Courmayeur. Just going through Courmayeur now, and it's going to be a big climb out of here after the aid station up to Berton. First part of the climb out Courmayeur is on this paved road, pretty steep as you can see, but good to get some easy elevation up to Berton, just past the sign saying 2 hours and 5 minutes if you're hiking. So hopefully on race day do that in half the time. After the road section you get onto just a big wide track again, similar to some of the other climbs in the race, so very easy underfoot. After about 2 kilometres on a wide track you then get onto the single track, It zigzags its way up the mountain. Bit technical, but gain height quite quickly. Just past Bertone, see Courmayeur down in the valley. Pretty rocky trail all the way up and steep, and then hoping it flattens off shortly after this. Just on the trail between Bertone and Bonatti, quite easy running at the moment, bit undulating, stunning views. You can see way over there the low point. It's where I came from yesterday, and heading over one of those passes. Just left Rifugio Bonatti. Really nice trails all the way between Bertone and Bonatti, undulating, but all very runnable. Just descended down before the big climb up Grand Col Ferret. From Bonatti to the low point was actually all quite easy running. Decent trail, a few climbs but nothing major. And now just heading up the Grand Col, which I think is around 750 meters of climbing to the summit. Just leaving Rifugio Elena and the Grand Col Ferret. You can see the path snaking up, and about a third of the way, halfway up now. Just approaching Grand Col Ferret, big old climb that. Just coming down from Grand Col Ferret. Can't tell you too much about the path as it's been on snow all the way down so far. Onto the trails finally after snow. Very easy runnable trails. You can see behind me. Pretty much mud, bit of rock occasionally, but very easy. Bit undulating at times, but overall quite a gradual descent as well. Just about 2,000 meters now on the descent down from Grand Col Ferret. Have been around 2,000 meters for the last kilometre or two. Quite an undulating section of trail. Single track, mud, runnable, the odd technical step or two, but nothing too bad. Okay, just on the descent down still, single track, and then this is an aid station or something. It takes you off the route anyway, off the main tour route down to here by the river. But yeah, pretty steep descent actually towards the end for maybe a kilometre or so on single track. Again, still the odd technical step, but overall pretty good, easy runnable trails. Just on the trail down from La Foulée to Praz de Fort. Again, big wide track. For the most part, easy running, amazing views. Just on the descent to Praz de Fort, and I'll use the term descent loosely. It's very rolling, only gradually descending. Don't seem to be making any progress down. It could be quite frustrating, I imagine, on the race, as it's a lot slower going than it may look on the course profile. So overall there's a gradual descent, and there's actually quite a bit of climbing as well. So something to be aware of. Trails themselves are quite easy, very runnable, but there is rolling climbs, shall we say. Just about at the bottom of the descent now, before the climb up to Champélac. So you come through a village and then you carry on descending down on the other side of the valley. A mix of paved roads, dirt tracks, tiny bit of single track. Again, all very easy running, gradual descent. Will be tough and tired legs. Probably 120 kilometers or so into the race by this point. Climb up to Champex-Lac. You can see where I left the road. First section, 100 meters or so, is just paved. Then it moves onto the single track path. Quite steep in places. About halfway up the Champex-Lac climb, you can see the villages down there where we started. And then it's been mainly wooded single track. There was one section on a larger track and pretty steep. Just arrived in Champex-Lac. Climb's alright, can be a bit up and down towards the top. I think this is where the aid station is before we head out along the lake. Just coming through Champex-Lac now, left the lake behind, and all paved roads, slightly undulating, but making way to the first big climb after Champex-Lac. But I think there's a bit of a descent before we get there. Left Champex-Lac now, nice easy runnable trail, gradual descent. Nice way to make up some speed and distance after the aid station. Before the big climb up Bovine. Final part of the descent out Champex-Lac is on this single track. Probably the most technical part of the trail, or up there with the descent into Courmayeur. It'll be tough on sore legs this late into the race. The climb up Bovine started off quite nice and gentle on a wide track, and then you pass through a gate, you go into single track, and it starts getting steeper as it climbs up. Another snow bridge crossing. Hope a lot of these on race day. Climb up Bovine, I would say, is the most sustained bit of technical uphill, and quite different underfoot now, a lot rockier than the other parts of the trail. Nearing the summit now, and the second half of the climb is quite different from the first, in that it's a less rocky trail, and it's also, I think in general, fair to say, less steep. There are a few steep pitches, but the average gradient for the second half is a lot less steep, to the point that at some places I was running, doubt I will be on race day, but really stride out, try and get decent momentum coming up here. I think just at the top of the climb, this gate, and there's the hut, Bovine. Drop down now to Trion. Descent so far, mix of technical sections like this, and then nice smooth runnable sections. Yeah, fairly easy, not too dissimilar to a lot of the other earlier descents in the race. About halfway down the trail to Trion, just continues with this absolutely lovely single track, very easy to run on, not too steep for the most part, so not too hard on the quads. Further down the ascent to Trion, you've got these big steps, which are a little bit tough, especially on tired legs. Just approaching Trion. I think the key takeaway from this descent is that the first half we're so down to the col is reasonably nice. There's then a flatter section, and then there's quite a steep technical bit descending before you get onto this wider track. About halfway up the climb from Trion now, and it is long and quite steep. Underfoot mix of trails, but if you get higher up, it seems to be more like this. Occasionally coming out of the woods into the heat. Yeah, going to be really tough, this climb. I think the key is just find your rhythm early on and stick to it. Just over 2,000 meters up now, Col de Balme climb, and the second half has been less steep, more runnable, and overall a lot easier going, which is good. I think just starting the descent now into Val Racine, quite steep at the start. Descent down to Val Racine starts off a bit rocky and then gets more earth as you get into the woods. Just twists its way down the mountainside. Very few odd steep section, but overall quite a nice gradient again for running down. Further down the descent to Val Racine, get onto this big wide track. Very easy running, nice gradient. And then even lower down, you're back onto single track trail through the woods, because you've got a few technical sections. Arrived in Val Racine, and at this point just one more big climb to go. Just on the climb out of Val Racine up to Col de Montets, before the climb starts proper to Tétouan. It's a pretty steady, gradual climb. Just arriving at Col de Montets. It's a pretty gradual climb. It's going to be really tough this late on in the race. And whereas in the past that would be the last climb done, a few years ago they added the climb. On the final climb now, and you can see the Col Montets behind me, the little cafe there, and now heading up, and this is a steep one. You get a lot of ascent in a short space of time, and it's rocky. Unfortunately, I can't go on the route all the way into Chamonix because they're doing repair work to a cable car, so the course is shut, but I will get as far as I can. After maybe half a kilometre, come to these steps. The good thing about the climb, or it might be a bad thing, is that you gain altitude quite quickly, especially at the start. Probably only done 600 meters in distance. The gain's around 200 from the top of the col. But it's probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest climb of the whole course. Lots of big steps, rocks, lots of loose rocks. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. Still climbing on this pretty technical trail. Lots of rocks. So yeah, it doesn't get any easier. Over halfway up. Just on the final part of the climb now, and very rocky in places, and it's probably the most sustained technical part of the race along here, just to make it even tougher for you. But yeah, for the last couple of hundred meters of ascent, it gets a lot easier in terms of gradient. so it's nowhere near as steep as it was at the start. That's at the top of the climb, pretty technical, and then this is a trail down. It's you go to the cable car station over there and then drop down into Chamonix. Fortunately I can't do that today because it is shut, but you've got an idea now what the trail's like.